Namaste everybody. I am Rajesh S. Rajagatta. Through this session, I am going to present before you Funds Flow Analysis Part 1. Before going into the details of Funds Flow Analysis, let us first understand why Fund Flow Statement is required. The analytical tools like comparative statements, common size statements, trend percentages, ratio analysis, etc. Although they are used as important analytical tools, they do not give much importance to the interrelationships between the items of income statement and balance sheet. In fact, these analytical tools like comparative statements, common size statements, then ratio analysis, analyze the static aspect of financial statements. That is, they take into consideration whatever given in the balance sheet and the profit and loss account and try to compare and analyze, interpret the results. They do not give importance to the things like what had happened during the two periods, in the middle of the two periods, to the items analyzed. These analytical tools are helpful in providing information relating to the profitability, solvency, liquidity of a business concern on a static basis. Sometimes these statements, as they are presenting only static analysis, they mislead the analysts. Therefore, there is a need for analyzing the items on movement basis. Analysis and interpretation of financial position and operational efficiency of a concern, comparative statements, common size statements, ratio analysis considers financial data as available in financial statements on a particular date. And we know that balance sheet provides a static view, that is a snapshot view of the status of firm's assets and liabilities and owner's capital on a particular date. You might have observed balance sheet is written like balance sheet as on. Therefore, it is the financial position of a concern on a particular date. And the data available in the balance sheet prepared on a particular date is static in nature. Income statement, on the other hand, provides information about operational activities of a firm during a particular period. Income statement in this sense may be termed as a flow statement. ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಅಡಾವೆ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ದಿವಸದ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಹಣಕಾಸಿನ ತಖ್ತೆ. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮರುದಿನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳಿರಬಹುದು. ಆ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ದಿನದ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಅದು ಸತ್ಯಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ. ಮಾರನೇ ದಿನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳಿರಬಹುದು. ನಂತರ ಆದಾಯ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಆದಾಯ ನಷ್ಟ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆ ಅಂತೇನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್, ಇದು ವರ್ಷ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ನಡೆದಿರುವಂತಹ ಆದಾಯ ತರುವಂತಹ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸಿದರೂ ಸಹ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳೇನಾಯಿತು, ಹರಿವು, ಹಣದ ಹರಿವಾಗಿರಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ ಚರಬಂಡವಾಳದ ಹರಿವಾಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ಅದು ಹೇಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಆದಾಯ ಪತ್ರಿಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಲಾಭ ನಷ್ಟ ಖಾತೆ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಅದು. ಆ ವರ್ಷ ಪೂರ್ತಿ, ಆ ಒಂದು ಹಣಕಾಸಿನ ವರ್ಷ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಒಂದು ಅವಧಿ 3 ತಿಂಗಳದ್ದಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, 6 ತಿಂಗಳದ್ದಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ 1 ವರ್ಷದ್ದಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಆ ಅವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ನಡೆಸಿದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳು, ಕಾರ್ಯ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳ ನಿವ್ವಳ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ ನಿವ್ವಳ ಲಾಭ ನಿವ್ವಳ ನಷ್ಟವನ್ನು ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯುವಂಥ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ. However, it reveals various operational activities and their net results. It means income statement reveals various operational activities and their net results in a summary account. It won't reveal the changes and reasons for such changes. Therefore, as I told you in the beginning, there is a need for a flow statement. Therefore, in this regard, we prepare along with income statement and profit and loss, income statement and balance sheet, we prepare an additional statement called Statement of Changes in Financial Position, SCFP. The Statement of Changes in Financial Position is prepared as a supplementary statement, an additional statement to the basic statements to analyze the movement or changes in funds of a business concern. The statement of changes in financial position shows the sources from which funds have been raised, received, and the application on which these type of funds have been utilized during that particular period. So in this background, funds flow statement, cash flow statement are prepared to know the movement of funds between two balance sheet dates and two income statement dates. Let us now continue to the meaning of funds. Before that is, we need to know the meaning of funds. We are discussing funds flow statement or funds flow analysis. Let us first discuss the meaning of funds. The term funds has variety of meanings depending upon the situation and the financial requirement. In a narrow sense, funds means cash only. It includes cash in hand and at the bank. Therefore, the statement of changes in financial position prepared on the basis of narrow concept of fund, that is cash concept of fund, we call it as cash flow statement. It will be discussed later in the next session. In a broader sense, the term funds includes all resources. We call them as men, material, money, machine, methods, management, etc. All those resources are termed as M's. Then in a popular sense, the term funds refers to working capital, that is net working capital. So net working capital is, from accounting point of view, as a mathematical equation, is the difference between current assets and current liabilities. Specifically, net working capital will be equal to total current assets minus total current liabilities. Therefore, the statement of changes in financial position prepared on the basis of net working capital concept of fund is called funds flow statement, where flow means change, movement. So this funds flow statement specifies the movement or change in working capital. So it takes into account opening working capital and closing working capital between two balance sheet dates and tries to reconcile that difference between opening working capital and closing working capital, stating the reasons as to why that change occurred between two balance sheet dates. We knew that funds flow statement is the flow statement prepared on the basis of popular concept of fund, that is working capital. In general terminology, working capital is that capital which is required to meet day-to-day requirements. Normally, it will be financed through current assets and current liabilities. Total current assets means gross working capital. When we total up all the current assets given in the balance sheet, we get gross working capital. From that gross working capital, if we deduct current liabilities, we get net working capital. So in accounting terminology, net working capital is the difference between current assets and current liabilities. So we need to know what are all current assets and current liabilities. Let us understand current assets and current liabilities here. Current assets, charastigalu, are those assets which are convertible into cash within a short period, usually 12 months, one accounting year. ಯಾವ ಆಸ್ತಿಗಳು ಕೇವಲ 12 ತಿಂಗಳುಗಳ ಒಳಗೆ ಹಣವಾಗಿ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಆಗಬಲ್ಲವೋ ಅಂತವುಗಳನ್ನು ಚರಾಸ್ತಿಗಳು, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. Current liabilities are those liabilities which are repayable within a short period, normally one accounting period or one accounting year or 12 months. ಚರ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಗಳು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಗಳನ್ನ 1 ವರ್ಷದ ಒಳಗೆ 12 ತಿಂಗಳ ಒಳಗಡೆ ವಾಪಸಾತಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆಯೋ ಅಂತವುಗಳನ್ನು ಚರ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. They have to be repaid within the normal accounting period. A list of current assets and current liabilities are given here for your reference. Current assets, cash and bank balance, they need not be converted into cash because they are already in cash form. Bills receivable, they take some time to convert into cash. Normally, they have to be presented with the banker, then discounted, or wait for the time given, maturity period, and receive back the money. Sundry debtors, same thing. Short-term investments, they have to be sold to get cash, get them converted into cash. Temporary or marketable securities, short-term loans and advances given by the concerned to outsiders. Inventories like raw materials, work in progress, stores and spares, finished goods. These takes much time to be converted into cash because they have to be sold in the market. So until they are sold, they will not be converted into cash. Then prepaid expenses, again, these expenses are normally cannot be converted into cash, but benefits of such things, expenses can be availed. But however, they are current assets. Accrued incomes, etc. comes under current assets. Current liabilities include bank overdraft. Normally, bank overdraft will be given for 3 months to 6 months. Bills payables, sundry creditors, outstanding expenses, dividends payable, tax payable, short-term loans and advances given by the taken by the company from others. Provision against current assets like provision for bad debts, etc. comes under current liabilities. Okay, hope you understood the current assets and current liabilities. Let us also understand what are all non-current assets and non-current liabilities. Non-current assets are the assets held in the business for use by the business over a longer period for earning purpose. They are held by the concern for building the capacity, building the production capacity, building the earning capacity. These assets are not purchased for resale and include tangible, intangible and fictitious assets. So these are held for capacity building. These are held for production purpose. These are held for earning purpose. Examples of non-current assets include fixed assets like buildings, land, plant and machinery, furniture, etc. Intangible assets like goodwill, patents, copyrights, etc. Fictitious assets like preliminary expenses, discount on issue of shares or debentures, negative balance in statement of profit and loss, and long-term investments. So non-current assets include tangible assets, intangible assets, fictitious assets, and long-term investments. Non-current liabilities, on the other hand, are the liabilities which have repayment period more than one accounting period. If repayment period is less than one accounting period, they are called as current liabilities. If the repayment period is more than one accounting period, more than 12 months, they are distinguished as non-current liabilities. These liabilities are met out of funds raised through another non-current liability or through non-current assets. These liabilities will be met through long-term liabilities only, or by selling or by incurring non-current assets. Examples include share capital, debentures, long-term loans, securities premium, reserves and surplus, net profit, etc. Flow of funds. It is already discussed. Flow means change or movement. Therefore, flow of funds or funds flow in business context refers to the change in or movement of fund, that is working capital, because of a business transaction. If any transaction results in the increase in net working capital, it is termed as source of working capital or inflow of working capital or source or inflow of fund. And if that transaction results in the decrease of net working capital, it is termed as an application of fund or outflow of fund. An application of working capital or outflow of working capital. If any transaction increases working capital, then it will be termed as source. If any transaction results in decrease in working capital, it will be termed as application of fund. Therefore, we have to classify the transactions into two major classes. Transactions that will bring change in net working capital and transactions that will not bring change in working capital. Let us analyze one by one, because this is very much essential to understand the funds flow statement or funds flow analysis. So we will be asked some questions in the examination about these things, whether the given transactions will affect working capital or not, we have to state. Therefore, in that sense, it is very important to know whether the transactions bring change, affect working capital, or do not affect working capital. First, transactions that will bring change in net working capital. So these have been classified, subclassified like this: transactions between current assets and non-current assets. If a transaction is between one current asset and another non-current asset, what will be the impact of such transaction on working capital is the point here. I am taking an example: buildings worth rupees 2 lakhs purchased for cash. Buildings worth rupees 2 lakhs purchased for cash. So here analyze: buildings are non-current asset, cash is current asset. So this transaction is in between one current asset, that is cash, and one non-current asset, that is buildings. 2 lakh rupees is the value of the transaction. So this transaction increases buildings by rupees 2 lakhs, but buildings is not part of working capital. It is a non-current asset. It will not affect working capital because it is a non-current asset. We know that working capital is current assets minus current liabilities. So no way this increase in buildings will affect current assets or current liabilities. Therefore, not a part of net working capital. Another another part here is cash. It decreases cash by rupees 2 lakhs. Cash is going out to purchase buildings. Cash is part of current asset. Therefore, current asset is decreasing. So then naturally, working capital will decrease. Is it not? Current assets minus current liabilities. Current assets are decreasing. Current liabilities remain the same. So working capital decreases. So it will decrease working capital by 2 lakhs. Take another example. Plant worth rupees 10 lakhs were sold for cash. In this transaction, plant is going out, moving out of the business. In that place, cash is coming in worth rupees 10 lakhs. Plant current asset, that is cash, is increasing by rupees 10 lakhs. It is part of working capital, but plant is non-current asset. It is going out. No effect on working capital. If plant decreases, it will not affect current assets or current liabilities. But increase in cash affects current assets. So increase in cash leads to increase in current asset. Therefore, it will increase working capital by rupees 10 lakhs. Hope you understood this transaction. Second subcategory of transaction is in between current assets and non-current liabilities. Previous transaction was current assets and non-current assets. Here, current assets and non-current liabilities. Let us understand what if a transaction is between current assets and non-current liabilities. Let us take example, equity share, a non-current liability, are issued for cash, a current asset, rupees 5 lakhs. Hope you are observing. Equity share is a non-current liability. Cash is a current asset. If transaction is between a non-current liability and current asset, what will be the impact on working capital is our discussion. So this transaction increases equity share capital by rupees 5 lakhs. Equity share capital is non-current liability. It will increase. So non-current liability, if any change is occurring in non-current liability, it won't affect working capital. We know that working capital is the difference between current assets and current liabilities. This increase in equity share capital in non-current liability will not affect either current asset or current liability. Therefore, no change in working capital of this part. So if shares are issued, cash is coming in. Therefore, cash is part of current asset. Current asset, if current asset is getting disturbed, net working capital also get disturbed. Is it not? So increase in current asset, increase in cash leads to increase in current asset. Therefore, it leads to increase in working capital by rupees 5 lakhs. Let us take another example. Debentures worth rupees 2 lakhs redeemed by cash. Redeemed means repaid in terms of cash. Debenture is part of non-current liability. Cash is part of current asset. Here cash is going out, moving out, rupees 2 lakhs. Debentures worth 2 lakhs are also moving out. They are also decreasing. Cash is also decreasing. But debentures are part of non-current liabilities, so they won't affect working capital. Cash is part of current asset, so the decrease in cash will decrease current asset and thereby working capital. If current assets decreases, working capital decreases. You have some amount outside your this discussion and analyze these things, taking the amount. ಏನೇನು ಅಮೌಂಟ್ಗಳು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಮೌಂಟ್ಗಳು ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಲೆಕ್ಕಾಚಾರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು 5 ಲಕ್ಷ, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ತಗೊಂಡು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸು 5 ಲಕ್ಷ, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ 3 ಲಕ್ಷ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರೋದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ತರ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ನೀವು ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿ. ಥರ್ಡ್ ಸಬ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ is between current liabilities and non-current liabilities. I hope you are observing the transaction. The transaction is in between current liabilities and non-current liabilities. Example, trade creditors are issued equity shares in settlement of their claims 50,000. Trade creditors or sundry creditors are issued equity shares in the settlement of their claims, rupees 50,000. Sundry creditors is part of current liabilities. Equity shares is part of non-current liabilities. Sundry creditors ಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾದಂತ 50,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗಳನ್ನ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ಗಳ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಕೊಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ನಾನ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಇವೆರಡು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಬೀರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಬೈ rupees 50,000. Is it not? When equity shares are issued, that will naturally increase the balance. It increases equity share capital by rupees 50,000. It is a non-current liability but not part of working capital. It is not a part of current asset or current liability. It is part of non-current liability. Therefore, there will not be any change in working capital. Another part in this transaction is sundry creditors. So it will decreases sundry creditors or trade creditors by rupees 50,000. Trade creditors are part of current liability. So current liability is decreasing. Current liability is decreasing. Liability kadme ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. Liability kadme ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. It is part of net working capital. Creditors are part of current liability. Current liability decreases, working capital get affected by increase worth rupees 50,000. Current liabilities decrease ಆದರೆ working capital increase ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Observe my words. Current liabilities decrease ಆದರೆ working capital increase ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಕ್ವೇಶನ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ನೋಡಿ, ಆಗ್ಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಟೇಕ್ ಸಮ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನರಿ ಫಿಗರ್ಸ್ and try to analyze these things. You will come to know where it increases, where it decreases. Working capital increases and working capital decreases. Let me take the fourth transaction between current liabilities and non-current assets. Example, buildings taken over in partial settlement of bank overdraft by a bank. Amount is not given. Amount is not necessary over here to understand the impact. Whatever may be the amount that will be get impacted in working capital. Okay, so buildings are part of non-current asset. Bank overdraft is part of current liability. So what happens? Let us analyze. Decreases buildings, a non-current liability, but it is not a part of working capital. It won't affect working capital. But decrease in overdraft, when bank overdraft is settled by buildings, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನವರು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಬದಲಾಗಿ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ದಿನದಿಂದ. ಅದರ ಬದಲಾಗಿ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಮಾ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇದ್ದಂಥದ್ದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಹೊರಗೋಗ್ತಿದೆ, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟಿನ ಸಾಲದ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ಸೊ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಓವರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ current liability. Therefore, it will affect working capital in terms of increase in working capital. Okay. The second main transaction that will have an impact on working capital is that transactions that will not impact net working capital. What are those? First sub transaction, transaction between current assets and current liabilities. Let us take one example. Goods purchased on credit rupees 20,000. Goods is part of stock. Credit means it is on credit basis. Creditors will increase. So increases stock of goods by 20,000, a current asset. Therefore, working capital will be increased by rupees 20,000. And also increases creditors by rupees 20,000, a non-current liability. A part of net working capital. So both sides, that is current assets will increase by 20,000 and current liabilities also increase by 20,000, impacting on working capital as no change. Hope you understood that. Both sides, current assets and current liabilities, are increasing by the same amount. Therefore, it won't affect working capital in total. Therefore, do not affect working capital. Similarly, cash paid to creditors 10,000. This will result in decrease in cash rupees 10,000, a part of working capital, and decrease in creditors rupees 10,000. Current assets are also decreasing by 10,000. Current liabilities are also decreasing by rupees 10,000. Therefore, no change in working capital. Second one, transactions between non-current assets and non-current liabilities. Example, buildings worth rupees 5 lakhs purchased by issue of debentures. Here, both are not concerned with working capital. Out of the working capital ambit, increases buildings a non-current asset, no part of net working capital. Increases debentures by rupees 5 lakhs. So no part of working capital. Debenture is also not a part of working capital. Buildings is also not a part of working capital. Therefore, it won't affect current assets or current liabilities. Therefore, no change in working capital. Then long-term loans settled by transferring land to the claimants. ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾದಂತ ಸಾಲಗಾರರಿಗೆ ಭೂಮಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಸೆಟಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. So again, same thing. Decreases land, not a part of working capital. Decreases long-term loans, not a part of working capital. So long-term loans will decrease. Land also decreases. Therefore, no impact on current assets or current liabilities. Therefore, do not affect working capital. Third one, transactions between current assets themselves or current liabilities themselves. Example, received cash from debtors. Debtors is part of current asset. Cash is also part of current asset. So here transaction is between current assets themselves. So it increases cash by 10,000, a current asset, and also decreases debtors by 10,000. So one current asset is increasing, another current asset is decreasing by the same amount. Therefore, do not affect the working capital. Then bills payable are converted into creditors, 20,000 rupees. Again, increases creditors by 20,000 but decreases bills payable by rupees 20,000. Both are non-current liabilities. Current liabilities they themselves are converting into one current liability into another current liability. So 20,000 decreases in one current liability and increases by the same amount in another current liability. It won't change the total of current liability. Therefore, no change in working capital. Is it not? Hope you understood the concept. Then transaction between non-current assets themselves and non-current liabilities themselves. Examples are given. Debentures have been converted into preference share capital. Debentures have been converted into preference share capital. One non-current liability is converted into another non-current liability. Basically, it won't affect current assets or current liabilities. Therefore, no change in working capital. Similarly, machine A and machine B are exchanged for machinery C. In place of two machines, one machinery is getting replaced. Okay. So no change in working capital. They won't affect current assets or current liabilities. Therefore, no change in working capital. So overall summary of these transactions can be put in the format of a figure like this. If transaction is in between current assets and current liabilities, observe the dotted lines. No flow of funds. Similarly, if the transaction is between non-current assets and the non-current liabilities, no change in no flow of funds. In other cases, current assets to non-current liabilities, current liabilities to non-current assets, current assets to non-current assets, current liabilities to non-current liabilities, there is change in working capital and it will affect the working capital position of a concern. So if you remember this figure, you can easily analyze how a transaction will affect working capital. Okay. Let us take one example. A Limited's total current assets are 5 lakhs and total current liabilities are 3 lakhs. So working capital is 2 lakhs. Okay. I was telling you that you assume some figures and affect the transactions on current assets or current liabilities as the case may be. You will come to know how it will increase or how it will decrease working capital. The same thing I have taken in example form. You will understand the impact of each transaction on working capital easily. So it will be there in our examination also to state the impact of the transactions on working capital. Okay. First transaction is issued equity shares for cash rupees 2 lakhs. Second one, goods sold on credit rupees 50,000. Third one, cash received from debtors 70,000. 1 lakh debentures were redeemed at a discount of 5,000. Buildings purchased by raising long-term loans rupees 5 lakhs. Bills receivable received rupees 10,000. Bills receivable 5,000 endorsed to bills payable. Goods sold for cash rupees 50,000. Goodwill written off rupees 10,000. Expenses paid in advance rupees 5,000. Bills receivable rupees 40,000. Discounted for rupees 39,000. Advance income tax paid rupees 10,000. Let us analyze how it will impact on working capital. Okay, pause this video and write down if you are writing down. Pause ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ನಂತರ ಮುಂದಿನ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. Okay. Solution. We know that net working capital is the excess of current assets over current liabilities. So given problem states 5 lakhs are current assets, 3 lakhs are current liabilities. Therefore, working capital will be 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs minus 3 lakhs. Okay. Let us analyze the impact of various transactions given. I am taking a table over here. Need not be put in the form of a table. For analysis purpose, I have taken the help of a table. Okay. So transaction, nature of transaction. I am segregating the transaction into the accounts impacted, and I am stating whether the accounts impacted are current or non-current. Then we will be analyzing impact on working capital, then writing up the revised working capital. Okay. Let us take first one, issue of equity shares rupees 2 lakhs. Two accounts involved here is cash and equity share capital. Equity shares are increasing, then equity share capital is increasing, cash is also increasing. Cash is part of current asset, equity share capital is part of non-current asset. So, leaving the non-current asset increase, I am considering only impact on working capital. So, current asset is increasing, that is cash is increasing by rupees 2 lakhs. Therefore, the 2 lakhs rupees working capital as given above will become rupees 4 lakhs. 2 lakh was the working capital basically. 5 lakhs minus 3 lakhs. 5 lakhs minus 3 lakhs 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ಈಗ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಈ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಆಫ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಟಿ ಶೇರ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಆ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಮೊದಲಿದ್ದಂಥ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ, ಈ 2 ಲಕ್ಷ ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡು 4 ಲಕ್ಷ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. Second transaction, goods sold on credit 50,000. So if goods sold on credit, debtors will be there, stock is going out, goods will be going out. But transactions both are the nature of these accounts are current and current. So debtors are increasing by rupees 50,000, stock is going out rupees 50,000. Therefore, no impact on working capital and the previous working capital remains the same as it is. ಎರಡೂ ಡೆಟಾರ್ಸು ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸು ಎರಡೂ ಸಹ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ನಡುವೆನೇ ನಡೆದಿರುವಂಥ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನು, ಅದರಿಂದ ಒಂದು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಝೀರೋ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಹಳೆಯ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಏನಿದೆ 4 ಲಕ್ಷ ಹಾಗೆ ಉಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ದೆನ್ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್, ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ರಿಸೀವ್ಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಡೆಟಾರ್ಸ್ 70,000. ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಡೆಟಾರ್ಸ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಅಕೌಂಟ್ಗಳು ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಎರಡೂ ಸಹ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸೇ, ಸೇಮ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಎರಡನೇ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ 70,000 ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಬೈ rupees 70,000. ಡೆಟಾರ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಬೈ 70,000. One current asset increasing, one current asset decreasing, therefore by the same amount, therefore no impact on working capital. Previous working capital remains the same. Then next one, 1 lakh debentures redeemed at 5,000 discount. So here 1 lakh worth debentures were repaid at rupees 95,000. Therefore 5,000 is the profit, we can say profit gained by the business. So cash is going out 95,000. In that place 1 lakh debentures are getting down. So the accounts impacted are debenture holders, discount on issue of redemption of debentures, and cash. So debenture holders are non-current liability, discount on the redemption non-current asset, cash is current asset. So cash is coming down by rupees 95,000. Therefore current assets decreases. If current asset decreases, working capital decreases by 95,000. So it will impact working capital by rupees 95,000. Therefore revised working capital will be 3,05,000. Next one, buildings purchased by long-term loans 5 lakhs. Buildings purchased by long-term loans. Buildings purchased by long-term loans, not cash. So observe, buildings purchased by long-term loans. Buildings are non-current asset in nature. Long-term loans are non-current liabilities in nature. Therefore, if the transaction is between non-current asset and non-current liability, it will not affect the working capital. ಎರಡೂ ಸಹ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಆಗಲಿ ಆಗಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ನಾನ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ ನಾನ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ನಡುವೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆದರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇದ್ದಂತಹ 3,05,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅದು ಹಾಗೆ ಉಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ದ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ರಿಮೈನ್ಸ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ 3,05,000. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್, bills receivable received rupees 10,000. So bills receivable received means cash is received, cash is coming in the place of bills receivable. Bills receivable are getting down and cash is coming in. Both are current assets. Current assets and current assets transactions will not affect working capital. Therefore no change in working capital. It remains at 5,000. Seventh transaction, bills receivable endorsed to bills payable. ಬಿಲ್ಸ್ ರಿಸೀವಬಲ್ ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಂದ ಬರಬೇಕಾದದನ್ನ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ. ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಬಿಲ್ಸ್ ರಿಸೀವಬಲ್ ಟು ಬಿಲ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯಬಲ್. ಸೊ ಬಿಲ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯಬಲ್ ಈಸ್ getting down, bills receivable is also getting down. Bills receivable is decreasing, bills payable is also decreasing. Bills payable is part of current liability, bills receivable is part of current liability, where current assets in decreasing by 5,000 and current liabilities are also decreasing 5,000. Therefore there is no change in working capital. 3,05,000 remains the same. ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟರಲ್ಲೋ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಪೇಪರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಲೆಕ್ಕಾಚಾರ ಮಾಡಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. 3,05,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಉಳಿಯುತ್ತೆ. ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್, ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್, total current liabilities decreases. But when we deduct current assets minus current liabilities from current assets, the amount will become same, 3,05,000. Observe, you write down these on a plain paper, you will come to know. 5,00,000 ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಯಿತು, ಮತ್ತೆ 5,000 ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಯಿತು, ಅದು ಹಾಗೆ 3,00,000 5,000 ಹಾಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಮೊದಲಿಂದ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಏನು 5,00,000 ಮೈನಸ್ 3,00,000 ಇತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನ ಬರ್ಕೋತಾ ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ 5,000 ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್, ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ 5,000 ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟೋಟಲ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ 5,00,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಅವೆರಡು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಡಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ 3,05,000ನೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Then goods sold for cash 50,000. Cash, the two accounts involved here is cash and stock. So both are current assets. I need not explain this. You already 3 items are discussed above. So no change in working capital. Goodwill written off 10,000. Goodwill written off, the accounts impacted are profit and loss account and goodwill. Both are non-current in nature. Therefore no change in working capital. Expenses paid in advance 5,000. Prepaid expenses cash. Both are current assets and current assets. So same thing applies. One current asset is increasing, another current asset decreasing. Total current asset will not affect. Therefore working capital remains the same. Bills receivable 40,000 discounted at rupees 90,000. So in the place of bills receivable 39,000 cash is coming in. Cash accounts impacted are cash, bills receivable and bills discount. So bills discount will go to profit and loss account. Okay, na? So non-current asset will be. Bill discounting is non-current in nature. Therefore 39,000 cash is increasing in the place of 40,000. Therefore 1,000 decrease is there. It will impact on working capital, that is 3,04,000. Advance income tax paid. So advance income tax is treated as non-current asset. Cash is treated as current. Therefore 2,94,000 is the revised working capital. Practice yourself, try this. I have given answer. Pause this video and write down and analyze. You need not write all the things as given in the table. For your understanding sake, I have given. You can simply write, for example, creditors took over long-term investments of rupees 50,000 in settlement of 50,800. 50,800 ಬದಲಾಗಿ 50,000 ರೂಪಾಯಿನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋದ್ರು ಅಂತಂದರೆ 800 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳಿತಾಯ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ನಮಗೆ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಲೋನ್ಸನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದು. 50,800 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಬರೀಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನ ಇದು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಅಕೌಂಟು, ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು ನೇಚರು, ಲಾಂಗ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ದು ಯಾವ್ದು ನೇಚರ್, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಬರೆಯೋ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. You can simply write this will increase, this transaction will increase working capital by rupees 50,000, like that. For understanding sake, I have taken the help of a table. Okay. Next, another problem is here. So no answers were given for that problem. Third problem is here. Pause this. Pause ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಬುಕ್ಸನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ, ಬರೀ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಬುಕ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೊಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ರೆಫರ್ ದಿ ಬುಕ್ಸ್. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದಿ ಮೇನ್ ಥೀಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೆಷನ್. A statement of changes in financial position based on net working capital concept of fund is known as funds flow statement. This is already explained. A fund flow statement is a financial statement prepared to reveal the sources and uses of net working capital during a particular period. You can by heart this and understand the concept. It resembles a reconciliation statement of net working capital between two balance sheet dates. That means reconciliation means it explains the reasons why there is change in opening working capital and closing working capital of a period. According to Robert Anthony, the definition given by Robert Anthony, the funds flow statement describes the sources from which additional funds were derived and uses to which these funds were put. Okay. ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಹಣ ಬಂತು, ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಬಂತು ಮತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ವಿನಿಯೋಗಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಫಂಡ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ರಾಬರ್ಟ್ ಆಂಥೋನಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯಾವ ಮೂಲಗಳಿಂದ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಚರ ಬಂಡವಾಳ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಆಸ್ತಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಉಪಯೋಗಗಳಿಗೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಚರ ಬಂಡವಾಳವನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ ಎಂಬುದನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ತಖ್ತೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. Procedure for preparing a fund flow statement. So it involves two parts. One is preparation of schedule of changes in working capital, and another one is preparation of statement of sources and application of funds or funds flow statement. So first part is schedule of changes in working capital. Second part is preparation of funds flow statement. Okay, in between these two stages, we have to prepare various accounts to dig out the hidden items that will be explained while preparing fund flow statement. First, I am taking schedule of working capital changes. ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತಿರುವಂಥ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಂತಲೇ ಬರೀಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇನಿಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಬರೀಬೋದು. ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಂತಲೂ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಅದನ್ನು. ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. Schedule of changes in working capital is prepared to know the net change in the working capital between two balance sheet dates. ಎರಡು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಡೇಟ್ಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಇರುವಂಥ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಆದಂಥ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ನ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. This statement is prepared separately to study the effect of changes in individual items of current assets and current liabilities and their impact on net working capital. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸು, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಆದಂಥ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ನಂತರ ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆಯಾಗಿ ಅವುಗಳೆಲ್ಲವ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಚರಬಂಡವಾಳದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ತಿಳಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ದ ನೆಟ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್, that is increase or decrease in working capital, is shown in the funds flow statement as a reconciliation. Okay, keep in mind the increase in net working capital is reconciled on application side and decrease in net working capital is reconciled on sources side of funds flow statement. So amount of every current asset and current liability in the current period is compared to that of the previous period. ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಏನು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೋದ ವರ್ಷದ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ಗೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ದ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಇನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ increase or decrease in net working capital. Okay, that means ಈ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ನೀವು 4 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಯು ಶುಡ್ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದೀಸ್ 4 ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್. ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್. ಐ ರಿಪೀಟ್, ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್. Decrease in items of current assets will decrease the working capital. Current assets ಎಲ್ಲ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದರೆ ಅದು ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. When come to the current liabilities, this nature will reverse. Increase in the items of current liabilities will decrease the working capital. Observe, increase in the items of current liabilities will decrease the current working capital. ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್. ಸೊ ಐ ರಿಪೀಟ್, ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್. ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ದಿ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್. ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ರಿವರ್ಸಸ್. Increase in items of current liabilities decreases working capital. Decrease in items of current liabilities increases working capital. Okay, these things should be kept in your mind. So this is how a typical format of schedule of changes in working capital. All the current assets will be written, then total current assets will be taken, then current liabilities will be written, and total current liabilities will be computed. From total current assets, total current liabilities will be deducted to know net working capital, and the net working capital has to be compared. ಸೊ 2 ಐಟಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಐಟಮ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹೋದ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಇಯರ್ಗೂ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಇಯರ್ಗೂ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡು ಅದರ ಬೇಸಿಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಬರೀಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಯಾಟ್. ವೈಲ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ನೋ how to prepare a working capital schedule. Some two asterisk marks are there with regard to provision for tax and proposed dividends. Provision for tax and proposed dividends may not find a place under current liabilities always. Sometimes they will be treated as appropriation of profits. So in such a case, it will not find place in under current liabilities. There we have to prepare an account, assuming that they are non-current liabilities. Okay, that will depend upon the problem. Treatment of provision for tax. As I told you in the previous slide, provision for tax represents the amount set aside out of current year profits to meet the tax liability of current financial year. It is a provision made to meet tax liability in the current year. Okay. So while preparing funds flow statement, provision for tax may be accounted for in either of two ways. One is an item of current liability. When it is taken as a current liability, there is no question of bothering. It will be considered under working capital schedule and it will be finished there itself. But when some adjustment is given in the problem, or the problem itself asks that provision for tax should not be taken as current liability and should be taken as non-current liability or appropriation of profits, then there is need to prepare an account. So in such a case, it will be treated as an appropriation of profit. So provision for tax will be treated as appropriation of profit. So current liability anta treat ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಇನ್ನೆಲ್ಲೂ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸರ್ತಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ಆ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡದೇನೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಪ್ರಾಪ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ತಗೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆಯಾ? ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಸೇಕ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಟೆಲಿಂಗ್, ವೆನ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಆ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದು ಲೈಕ್ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಇಯರ್, ಸಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿನ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡೆಡ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಇಯರ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯ್ಡ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ, ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ತಗೋಬಾರದು, ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕೋಬಾರದು. ಇಫ್ ನಾಟ್ ಗಿವನ್, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡದೇ ಇದ್ದ ಪಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಟೇಕನ್ ಆಸ್ ನಾನ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಟೇಕನ್ ಆಸ್ ಅಪ್ರಾಪ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೋಬಾರದು. ತಗೊಳ್ದೇನೆ ನೀವು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಅಡ್ಜಸ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡದೇನೆ ಅವರು ಅಪ್ರಾಪ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ತಗೋಬೇಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ದೇನೆ ಕೇವಲ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ 2 ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ when it is taken as appropriation of profits, we have to prepare a provision for tax account like this. By balance brought down, it will be taken. Then assumed that the previous year balance has been paid during the year to cash, tax paid. Then this year's balance will be taken on debit side, to balance carried down, and the balancing will give you the new provision that will be taken into transfer to profit and loss account. Okay, same treatment applies to proposed dividend also. So it can be taken as current liability and as an appropriation of profit. When it is taken as appropriation of profit, an account is prepared like this, as prepared under provision for tax. Like that, we will prepare an account for proposed dividend. By balance brought down, opening balance or previous year's closing balance will be taken on credit side. Then that if any dividend is paid in the during the period, that will be taken on debit side to cash dividend paid, and balance carried down will be returned. And by balancing, we get the new proposal made through profit and loss account. That will be dividend paid or profit and loss account. We will be the balancing figures while preparing this account. Okay, Interim dividend, keep in mind interim dividend and proposed dividend are different items. There is no linkage between interim dividend and proposed dividend. The interim dividend should be treated separately. Okay, so the dividend declared and paid in between two annual general body meetings is known as interim dividend. Okay, interim dividend paid during the year has nothing to do with proposed dividend account. If any interim dividend is paid during the year, it is treated as application of funds. Therefore, it should be added into profit and loss account and recorded on application side of funds flow statement. Okay, these things you should keep in mind while preparing the fund flow statement. Let us try to prepare a working capital schedule. So prepare a statement of changes in working capital from the following. Year ending 31st March 2016-17 are given. Sundry creditors given, sundry debtors, bills receivable, bills payable, prepaid expenses, outstanding expenses, stock, investment in government securities are the items. So before preparing working capital schedule, you should be very careful and be clear in your mind what are all the current assets, what are all the current liabilities. Okay, ನೀವು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವುದು, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಭಾಳ ಈಸಿ. ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ನು ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರೋವನ್ನ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ಗೆ ಹಾಕೋದು, ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ತಗೊಂಬಂದು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್, ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್. ಪಾಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೈಟ್ ಡೌನ್ ಇನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್. Okay, schedule of changes in working capital. I have already explained the format. This is the format: particular, previous year balance, current year balance. Effect on working capital will be taken under increase and decrease column. First, take up current assets. What are all current assets? You should mark them before proceeding to prepare working capital schedule. Okay, so first current asset is sundry debtors, amount 1,50,000 previous year, 1,80,000 current year. So what is the impact of this? Current asset is increasing. If current asset increasing, working capital also increases. Therefore 1,50,000, 1,80,000, 30,000 rupees is the increase. So write down that 30,000 under increase column like this. Okay, sundry debtors 1,50,000, 1,80,000. There is increase in current assets, debtors balance. Therefore, it will impact on working capital by 30,000 increase. Okay. Next, bills receivables. Again, one more current asset. Amount given 10,000, 8,000. So observe 10,000, 8,000. It is decreasing. 10,000, 8,000. Decreasing by rupees 2,000. Decrease in current assets decreases working capital. Therefore, write the 2,000 on decrease column. Under decrease column. Okay. Next one is prepaid expenses. Another current asset. Amounts 800, 700. Decreasing. So 800, 700 decreasing. Decrease in current assets decreases working capital. Therefore, write 100 rupees on current decrease column. Next, stock amount is 2 lakhs and 1,80,000. Again decreasing, so it decreases working capital by 20,000. Next, investment in government securities. Keep in mind, investment in government securities are gilt-edged securities. They are short-term in nature. Any government securities investment is short-term in nature. Trade investments are long-term investments. So, taking a trade, word trade, you cannot take it as current asset. Okay, trade investments are long-term in nature. Investment in government securities, marketable securities are short-term in nature and taken under current assets. Okay, so amount are nil and 40,000. So automatically it is 0, 40,000. Increases. Increase in current assets increases working capital by 40,000. So this is how the current assets will be recorded. So while totaling up, do not total increase column and decrease column, only the amount column of the years, periods, total up to find out current assets. Total current assets equals to 3,60,800. Total of 1,50,000 plus 10 plus 800 plus 2 lakhs. Then second year 4,08,700. So this is how current assets are presented. So you need not total up increase column and decrease column here. Next, take up current liabilities. Write down all current liabilities. Sundry creditors amount 70,000, 80,000. So here increase decrease reverses. 70,000, 80,000. Increase in current liabilities. I already explained. Increase in current liabilities decreases working capital. Therefore, write 10,000 under decrease column. So current assets, if current assets are increasing, working capital increases. If current assets are decreasing, working capital decreases. This case will be reversed in case of current liabilities. If current liabilities are increasing, it decreases working capital. If current liabilities are decreasing, it increases working capital. Bills payable 8,000 and 4,000. So here decrease in current liabilities, it will increase working capital by 4,000. Okay. Outstanding expenses 2,000 and 4,000. Increase is there, decreases working capital by 2,000. Now total of current liabilities. First year 80,000, second year 88,000. Need not total the increase and decrease column here also. Now next step is find out working capital. We know that working capital is current assets minus current liabilities. Total current assets minus total current liabilities will give you the net working capital. Total current assets minus current liabilities. 3,60,800 minus 80,000 is 2,80,800. Okay, 3,60,800 total current assets. Total current liabilities 80,000 minus 3,60,000 minus 80,000, 2,80,800. Next year also same thing. 4,08,700 minus 88,000 gives you 3,20,700. Hope you are following. ಎಲ್ಲ ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ನೌ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ದಿ ನೆಟ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್. During the year ending 31st/3/2016, the working capital was 2,80,800. But during the year ending 31st/3/2017, working capital was 3,20,700. What do you say? Whether working capital is increasing or decreasing? Increasing. 2,80,800 has been increased to 3,20,700. So during the year ending 31st/3/2017, there is increase. So we have to compute how much increase is there. Therefore, try to close this account, close this statement as you are closing your ledger account. So write down the highest figure 3,20,700 first. Then carry it to the lowest figure, that is previous year 3,20,700. Compare, total it up, balance it. So balance will be on previous year side, that is 39,900. Okay, first you take up the highest total as you are closing down your ledger account, like that. So we have already observed working capital has been increased from 2,80,800 to 3,20,700. Therefore, 39,900 is increase in working capital. Observe this. 39,900 is increase in working capital. Why? Working capital was 2,80,800 during the previous year, and now 3,20,700 increases. Therefore, the balancing figure is increase in working capital. This amount you directly take out to decrease column, or total up increase and decrease column. The balancing figure will be on decreasing side 39,900. The increase and decrease columns must tally and the years column must tally. So that is how this account will be finished, closed. Hope you understood. Next, let us do another problem. Prepare a schedule of changes in working capital from the following balance sheet. Balance sheet is given. In the previous problem, only items were given. So here, balance sheet itself is given. Fixed assets, not a part of working capital, leave it. Long-term investments, not a part of working capital, leave it. Work in progress, current asset. Stock, current asset. Accounts receivable, current asset. Prepaid expenses, current asset. Cash and bank balance, current asset. So all the 5 items comes under current assets, therefore you consider them. On the liability side, equity share capital is not part of working capital, debentures is not part of working capital, tax payable, no adjustment is given, you can consider it as current liability. Accounts payable is current liability, interest payable is current liability, dividend payable is current liability. So we have 5 current assets and 4 current liabilities. Let us prepare a working capital schedule. So this is how the statement will look like. First, take out current assets, work in progress, 1,20,000, 1,50,000, increase in current assets, 30,000, decrease dash. Then stock, 1,20,000, 1,46,000, again increase in stock current assets. So it will increase current, working capital by rupees 26,000. Then accounts receivables, 75,000, 86,000. Again increase is there, increases working capital by 11,000. Difference tagondo ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ. Then prepaid expenses 25,000 ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು 4,000 ಆಗಿದೆ, ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ 21,000, 25,000 minus 4,000. Next one is cash and bank balance, 35,000 ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು 25,000 ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, it is decreasing by 10,000, working capital also decreases. Total of these current assets, total current assets 3,75,000, 4,11,000. Then take up current liabilities, tax payable 80,000 and 43,000. Decrease in current liabilities increases working capital, keep it in mind, by 37,000. Next, accounts payable 1 lakh and 1,55,000. Increase in current liabilities decreases working capital by rupees, difference is 55,000. Then interest payable 30,000 and 40,000. Increase in current liabilities decreases working capital by 10,000. Dividends payable 60,000 and 50,000. Decrease in current liabilities increases working capital by 10,000. So find out total current liabilities, 2,70,000 and 2,88,000. Now find the difference between total current assets and total current liabilities. 3,75,000 first year, the 3,75,000 and 2,70,000 current assets and current liabilities respectively. Difference between those two is 1,05,000 and 4,11,000 minus 2,88,000. Current assets minus current liabilities, 1,23,000. Again 1,23,000 is the highest. Take it down. Then compare it with the previous year. Difference will be 18,000. So 1,05,000 is 1,23,000 ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, increase in working capital. Therefore, write it as increase in working capital. Take this 18,000 into decrease column. You will find out the total of increase and decrease columns. Okay, this is how schedule of changes in working capital is prepared. So another problem is there. Goodwill, fixed assets, long-term investments are given. Stock, sundry debtors, bills, receivables are only current assets. Here, sundry creditors, bank overdraft, bills payable, provision for tax are the current liability. So it is prepared like this. You know how to prepare, write down all the things. I have already taken them. Only I am explaining how it will impact on net working capital. So net working capital 50,000 minus 70,000 leads to minus 20,000, negative figure, and 63 minus 88,000 again minus figure 25,000. So when minus comes, negative comes, you should be very careful. Which is highest of these two, minus 20,000 or minus 25,000? Highest. Not minus 25,000, it is minus 20,000 is the highest. So write down minus 20,000 first, then carry it to next column, compare. So 5,000 is there on second year, that is the decrease in working capital. 20,000 ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು 25,000 ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಮೈನಸ್ ಫಿಗರ್. If I take minus as loss, previous year 20,000 loss was there, current year 25,000 loss is there. So whether it will decrease your profits or increases your profits. So decreases your profits like that. ಹಿಂದಿನ ವರ್ಷ 20,000 ಲಾಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಈ ವರ್ಷ 25,000 ಲಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, ಅಂದರೆ 5,000 ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಹೋದ ವರ್ಷ 20,000 ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಮೈನಸ್ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಮೈನಸ್ 25,000 ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇನ್ನೂ 5,000 ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಆ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ 5,000 ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಟೋಟಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಿಗರ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ. 5,000 ಈಸ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್. ಸೊ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ಡ್, ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆದರೆ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಅಮೌಂಟು ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಕಾಲಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ, ಆ ಒಂದು ಅಮೌಂಟು ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಕಾಲಮಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಿದೆ. ಇದು ನೀವು ಗಮನಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ಓಕೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್. ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಈಸ್ ಗಿವನ್. ಪಾಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಅಂಡ್ ರೈಟ್ ಡೌನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್, ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ 41,000 ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ. So again one more problem is there. Increase in working capital 40,000 ಬರ್ತಿದೆ. ಇದು ಲೋನ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯಬಲ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ 22 ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಲೋನ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯಬಲ್ and observe the dates. Dates are 22 first and then 21st. 2022 ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆಮೇಲಿಂದ 2021 ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಲೋನ್ಸ್ ಪೇಯಬಲ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ 2022 ಆರ್ ಟ್ರೀಟೆಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟೀಸ್. ಕೀಪ್ ಇನ್ ಮೈಂಡ್, ಪೇಯಬಲ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ 2022 ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ವಿತಿನ್ 12 months. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಲಯಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ತಗೋಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡು 40,000 ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಬರಬೇಕು ನೋಡಿ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೌ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ಡ್. ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್, find out various problems by observing or going through your textbooks or question papers. Solve on your own. If doubts are there, clarify with your teachers. Okay, let us meet in fund flow analysis part 2. Thank you.